We are live. All right. There we go. Did anyone else need an agenda? We're all good?
Okay, welcome everybody. Tuesday, June 13th, 2 p.m. facility meeting. We'll just be at it under. We'll call to order and take a roll call, which is, I guess, we should keep track of at least who's here. I don't know if we really call to order since we're not a formal meeting, but anyway,
Yeah.
roll call is definitely good.
Now we know. Now we know when to start.
Approval of the agenda. Anyone else want to add any new business to the agenda for today? Move there. Then we'll start right on new business and I mentioned Aon there after Teresa Jacobs sent an email, just wondering what the plan is through construction or how the kids would be handled. And obviously, I don't think we need the exact plan, but just some ideas. I'm sure Nexus, obviously, you guys have thought this out and know how this works, but if you could just maybe enlighten the rest of us a little bit how that would work.
Can't hear you, Ellie.
Uh-oh. What happened?
No
Ellie,
volume yet.
Ellie, I think you're muted.
Sorry.
Very
Okay.
good.
There has not, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
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 Okay. There has not been an entire construction phasing plan timeline put together yet. It'll probably be a messy project until the fall of 2026. The fall or the summer of 2024, maybe the track and, like multi-purpose fitness additions can get started. But that's kind of an unknown depending on the design of them. The classroom work at Olivia can be completed over 2 summers, so 25 and 26. High school SPED and art may have to go to temporary locations for 1 year, while the demo and rebuild the 1922 section. And the new multi-purpose fitness additions could definitely provide some swing space if those are done at that time as well. So we're not sure if we need Bird Island for swing space. It may be needed, but it would be the west side only. That's kind of what we know at this point.
Okay. So I suppose the west whole wing could be used if we use that instead of making those first 2 locker rooms.
We would hold up on the locker rooms until if we needed that swing space.
Okay.
Okay.
And it's just a general idea, so it's in the discussion, I guess, so that way. Okay.
A lot of people ask that question, though, so I get that quite a bit.
Yeah. It would be, if at anything at all, it would be like 1 or 2 grade levels at a time, going over there while their rooms are renovated.
Okay.
Well, and once, if it's something that people are interested in, once we have the scope dialed in, as part of the communication information, we could certainly put together a broad brush schedule to give people an idea. But typically groups are more focused on what's being done, and then again, just broad brush timeline of when would it be done.
Sure.
But we can certainly put some more thought to that. I mean, it's again, once we kind of have the scope solidified.
All right. Well, that's understood. Any other questions on that? Okay. The second question, or B, I guess, on new business, do we want to put a second question on the ballot? Ellie, you and I talked briefly about that. Somebody mentioned the other day off the first survey, I thought, fairly clear, they don't want, I won't say any money spent on sports or those types of things, but so I thought, well, just for discussion, we should bring that up. I'm not saying I'm in favor of that one way or the other, but how strongly were the results in the first survey on not spending money on sports related costs or expenditures, I guess you would say.
Something to keep in mind when talking about sports is that that's a big draw for our school. We get a lot of people open enrolling here, and if we suddenly started losing, like if we're not able to do the track, we would lose people to neighboring districts, and you lose a number of kids, and suddenly you've lost whatever you've saved. So that's something to keep in mind.
Would that throw the Berlin
What I-
project out?
What I would throw out there for consideration is,
Say would be good. I mean,
Locker
it's
room.
really just a question for discussion. I'm not saying I'm in favor of it. I would think that if we're doing a lot of remodeling at the time, that would be a good time to do that, especially in Bird Island, since, if we're gonna do bleachers and other stuff. But I think my personal feeling is that if we do the track, you do the gym floors, and the wrestling thing all gets done, I don't think you take one out of the other. I think they all get done or nothing, because to me, that's just truly fair to, and the arts and all that, that should all be one thing to me, so we're not nitpicking any piece, so. I just really brought that up for discussion.
Sure.
because someone
No,
brought
it's
it to me, and any Ally
changed.
comments or?
Yeah. Amy, could you aim the camera over at the TV a little bit more, please?
I just think as far as the track goes, that it has been like pushed off and pushed
More, yeah.
off and pushed
Maybe.
off,
Amy,
Amy Moria.
I'll actually go back this way.
to the part of like where
Yeah.
it's going to be not usable pretty soon. So I don't know. I mean, it seems like neglect of facilities has maybe gotten us in this spot. And so we need to just try and keep them up.
Totally
Sports,
agree.
art, all of that.
Yeah, I agree with her on that. But the only way I would agree to do a second question is if the survey comes back and they want us to get the cost down more, then maybe put some of that stuff on a second question where the first one's just focusing on education. But I think we have to wait until the survey comes back to determine that.
Well, then it could be a smaller scope second question.
Right.
A lot of the things they had listed on there were things like air conditioning. So is that a first question item? No, but maybe that would be a good second question because people understand why you might need air conditioning. So just a thought.
No, agree.
the other thing that a couple things is that I think you were touching out there is, as we suggested the whole way through, is let the data guide you. So let's see kind of where things shake out with this latest survey. Second is, especially if there's sports items in question 2, we would encourage you to make question 2 contingent on question 1. And to clarify that, what I'm saying is, you would say that in question 2, question 1 has to pass first before question 2 can pass. That way it's not an either or, it's truly an and.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any of the gym floors, I've been had questions on that. So for Island, in the bleachers, the gym floor looks nice. What is actually wrong? So if people ask me, why does that floor need to be replaced?
That floor is real thin. It's barrel sanded down. If you look by the volleyball standards, the floor comes up because when they barrel sand that, they go around them. So when we go to finish that floor, we kind of pull the finish towards the standard to kind of get it level. If it drops away, the floor drops out. So you don't see it as much when it's finished, but when you're sanding it, you really see it. So
How often does that get sanded?
barrel sand, a lot of it depends on if you get a bunch of gouges in it. What we've been doing, since I've come here is mainly just a scuff sand, they call it. You're not even going to the wood. You're just going through the finish. And that's kind of one reason why we've done it that way. So,
I've done it every year, every several years.
let's see, this one was done 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before COVID, 3 years ago. Mainly because of the painting. We were starting to lose lines. And then we had to put the no charging lines in there and stuff like that. So, I mean, that was why this one was done at that time. But other than that, that's maybe 5 to 7 at the most. I mean, if you take care of the floor, keep it clean, keep it going, you should be able to go 7 years. So, I mean, it's not, right, yep. When they come in and barrel sand, they're probably taking 1/16 of an inch. I mean, you know, they're definitely sanding it.
Okay.
That's,
Think of what that-
yeah, they get aggressive.
What about Olivia's gym?
Olivia, we're pretty decent here. We're pretty good thickness or flooring on it. Yeah, I mean, I don't see, let's see, 3 years, maybe another 4 years, we might have to have that done. I mean, just guessing. And of course, if we get big gouges, I mean, we'd have to do it again, but.
Going back to the track, and I don't want to get off of the, stay on the big project, but some of the minor things, like Greg and I looked at the track last time, we talked about tiling underneath the track, which does create the problem of having to pack that all back in again, but what about running a perimeter tile all the way around the outside and perimeter on the inside of the track? That would pull all that water away and would probably make that a long-term fix at that point with just, doing asphalt on the top or whatever the surface is. So then you wouldn't actually be touching the compacted area. As a farm tile, it's common, we go every 50 feet and that works very well. I mean, we know we're drawing 25 feet between tile lines. So the track is only 20 feet wide. How wide is the track?
About 20.
So I would think if we went 10 feet on the outside perimeter, 10 feet on the inside, you would pull all of that water out from underneath. And then of course that eliminates all that heating and frost outside. There's no water in there, so.
And we're already talking about tiling out here for the playground. So,
Right, it'd be right there and just
Yeah.
put it around it. Okay, so am I kind of hearing roughly, we don't want to talk about a second question today? Or is there an air conditioning thing that we want to recommend pulling out? Or at this point, do we just leave stuff the way it is and like you said, wait till the survey comes back and tighten stuff up and
That's what I
make some harder
think.
decisions?
We need to wait for the survey to come back.
I agree.
Okay. And then Ellie, I never did put it on the board about, or on the agenda, I forgot the roofing, people, were they able to, or did you not, schedule that since I forgot it?
2:30.
Yep, they're on at 2:30.
Okay, all right. Okay. Okay, so we talked to Jim and Todd Frank about making this recommendation for the school to submit, or what do you call it, thing again, when they submit it to the state for
Review and
referendum,
comment.
review and comment. And my first thought was, I didn't feel that, we're ready for that. I really wanted to wait for the survey to come back, because I do not want it to appear that we have a plan and we're going ahead without the public input on what that survey should be. However, with the legislation change, of course, you're aware it has to be earlier than we anticipated.
Why don't I make a comment on that, just because I bet most people don't understand. So we've been planning on submitting that review and comment mid-August. And what happened here in the spring was legislation went through and was signed a couple weeks ago that they changed one number. They changed a 20 to a 48. It used to be that 20 days before a referendum vote, no more than 60 days, you had to publish the results of your review and comment in your legal newspaper. Well, they changed the 20 days to 48 days. And they did that to accommodate for mail-in ballots, which makes sense. And we talked about that at the last time we ran a referendum. New information came out, and you'd already had a bunch of people who had voted without that information. You and I talked about that. So that's why they're doing this. Unfortunately, districts like ours they're already way deep into this process are going to be affected because instead of submitting that now in the middle of August, we have to have it back so that we can submit it 48 days before the vote. Which I don't know, Ellie, do you remember what the date of that is?
Well, the vote for, ask your question again. sorry.
Just what, 48 days before, was it November 7th? Is that when the
Well,
vote is?
yes, 48 days you have it posted, but MDE, the Department of Education, has 70 days, right, Mike, 70, to look it over from the date you submit. They have that many days to look at it and approve it
Right.
before you can post it. So you add 48 to that, and that's how we got the,
Okay, I was just trying to find out that exact date. So by moving that back 28 days, it's bumped all of this back. And so our review and comment is now due to the state by July 11th. It's funny, a month doesn't sound like a long time, especially when we think about how long we've been working on this stuff. But in this case, a month is huge. So there's certainly a possibility that we aren't going to be able to get this in for the November vote. And honestly, if that's the case, that's the case. Randy has said, and I know Todd agrees with this, that we'd rather get a successful vote with all the information. We don't want people thinking we're rushing things. We want to do this right. Now, that said, if the results of the survey come back, they don't recommend many changes, I think we could put this to review and comment by the 11th. We just aren't going to know until we get the results of that survey.
correct, and we can amend it. We have reached out to the state, and so we have to have it in by July 11th. But if something changes in that time frame, we can amend it to the state.
Ellie,
So it's just,
we can-
go ahead.
we can amend it up until what point?
He hasn't gotten back to that date. Chris Kubish hasn't given us an exact date. We asked that question. At this point, I would say like a month or so that you can amend it. But that's just what I would recommend, I guess. He didn't say that. But anyway, so that's where it's in the recommendation of the board decides to do that. If something were to come back, it can be amended. You could even potentially add a question too. Because we're probably gonna have the survey results July 6th, and we have to have the review and comment in July 11th.
You said the survey will start July 6th?
No.
Be done.
We'll have the results by then.
Oh, okay.
And the survey is will start when?
19th, is that what I read?
Something like that.
Lost earlier.
But next.
This week? Next week? This part next week?
Yeah.
Monday?
The 19th.
19th, okay.
Will they be able to start it on the 19th? It's now a federal holiday.
Hopefully if you guys, it's done unless there's anything, feedback that you guys have. I sent it out to you. We put a lot of time working with Peter on that already, so, it's pretty close to ready to go unless you guys have changes.
I didn't see anybody had suggested anything. I saw Pat Baumgartner made the comment that it seems pretty solid, and we're gonna, I think, be able to definitively say exactly what it is people are willing to support when we get this. I don't think there'll be any question.
And Jack, you said something. Okay.
And I'm sorry, I haven't even seen it yet. I don't know if it got hung up in a file somewhere, but maybe I could have you resend those questions to me if you don't mind. I've not seen the survey. Has everyone else received it?
I can give you mine and I can put another one out.
Okay. It's kind of odd, actually. I have to go up. At least for me, all maybe I just missed it. Okay.
I had that similar thing. It was so weird the way it attached.
Okay. I must have just missed it. helping too. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so based off what Jim explained is, I was a little hesitant to even think that we should make a recommendation, but I just wanted to be very clear to everyone. And Todd Frank's very clear as well, has the same feeling that if the survey results do not come back and the general public does not like the direction we're going, it just gets thrown out and we start over. Nothing wrong with just tossing this out, it's just, it's there if we need it. I just do not want the perception that we're going ahead and we're not listening to the public. So I just want to make that clear. And, so, are there any other questions as far as, I think what the board would like from us then is a recommendation that to basically go ahead and submit this as the best plan that we have today, contingent upon the survey backing up our.
Yeah, I guess I think I would recommend maybe we schedule a meeting for that July 6th. If we could meet, we can go through those results and then we could schedule a special board meeting for right after that. They could actually sit in and watch the committee meeting, hopefully get any of their questions answered. And then we could just roll into a special meeting and move forward. Then we wouldn't necessarily need a recommendation for this board meeting for today.
Okay.
Because I do feel that would, if we make a recommendation now, we may have to just change it based on the results of the surveys. So I don't even think that I'd recommend making a recommendation yet.
Does that work on the timeline? Because I didn't think we had, does that give everyone enough time to put that together if we don't do that till that? date?
Yeah, and I'd say
Well,
this
I'm
out
gonna
a
have
while
to
ago.
have it, I'm gonna have to have it ready anyway. Like, it'll have to be pretty much done by then anyway, just assuming that we give the recommendation.
Okay.
Cause no, it takes quite a while to put together.
Okay. Great. The school board won't finalize it anyway until that survey, so.
Right. Right. So I guess I'd make a recommendation that we meet again on the 6th, and I'll talk to Todd Frank and see if we can have a special board meeting right after that.
The 6th of July.
I will plan to have Peter present. He'll be via Zoom. I told him he could do it via Zoom, but I'll have him present the date or the results that day.
And I was thinking the 6th simply because the 5th, I think a lot of people still might be traveling or whatever from the holidays, so.
6th work for people here, or their plans that,
Should work for me. What time are you thinking?
I hadn't even considered that. We could say, does 2:00, does that work? I don't know if if we're gonna have the board meeting afterwards. We probably need to do a little later. I know Sandy works till 5.
4 always works best for
3?
me.
She said she could come after 3 if we have meetings,
Okay.
if we needed to.
Well, so if we met at
3.
3, why don't we do that? We can meet at 3.
when do you usually do your board meetings?
7.
7? Okay, we don't want to just leave that the same and we
Can
just.
you do
No.
it earlier?
No, you can do a special meeting at any time, actually. So, yeah, I would just schedule the regular board meeting for, I don't know, do we have to give us exact time, Amy? Could we just say the regular board meeting is going to happen immediately after the facility committee meeting?
I think we should give it time,
Probably give it time, so maybe give a 2-hour,
to 5 o'clock
so 5:00
on the 6th.
on July 6th, yeah. I think that's it.
If that's gonna be our
Thursday?
topic, I mean, an hour is plenty for us, right?
5 o'clock, you're saying?
A committee meeting.
Well, Peter has to present the results.
Oh, the survey, right.
Right.
How long is that? That'll bring up a lot of questions.
I mean, I think it's, I'd say half or 45 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So we're doing it at 5, we better go up to 3.
We'll go 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock on the 6th.
And I agree, I'm sure we're gonna have questions, but I don't think we're gonna have 2 hours of questions either, so. And if we do, that probably just means we're not gonna have time to do this.
Recommend.
And like we've been saying, we're not gonna push this.
So we're not making any recommendations today as far as that goes. Unless, and then, well, in a few minutes here, then we'll just do the roofing thing.
Yeah. As soon as sport is concerned.
Anybody, anything else they would like to discuss at this time?
I can mention, when we talked about the pool, we've been given a verbal go-ahead to get everything else done by Jude from, is it what's our insurance company? E&C. E&C. And they've, the Valley Electric has been down underneath and they've been looking at how they're gonna get their wires pulled under there and we've ordered the box for up on the pool deck and I think somebody's coming to pour.
The concrete, yep, the forms getting set
Is that this
today
weekend?
and hopefully yet
It's
this week.
today. It's this
Okay.
afternoon.
Okay.
Is this all on the insurance company's tab so far?
Mhm.
Everything?
Yes.
I'm gonna knock on wood.
Okay.
Yes, that's what we do.
I'm sure.
On that same note, so we put together, the only thing we added to the pool numbers from the last time we looked at the film summary was we added pool covers. So the total is 1,414. So just the thought that maybe start talks with the city on how to move forward with half of that.
We can do that.
That makes sense. Has there been any more discussion with the city yet?
No, not really.
Yes, I
Oh, I
went and
haven't,
talked to
I
Mary
guess.
Jo. I went and talked to Mary Jo, the interim city administrator, with the document that they handed me at the last facility meeting that had the pool broke out. But she didn't really want to present it because she didn't know if your vote doesn't go through, then what? Like, she didn't want to present it as a rock solid, this is how much it's gonna cost, because what's your plan B, or,
Right.
and you're not, you're
Not
writing this
finalized
up as your proposal, but yet you're not finished with it yet, so. I did have a conversation with Mary Jo directly, but beyond that, I have not brought it to the city.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, we've got to get it. So,
Here we go.
Charlie,
And
hello. Are you guys ready for him to start?
Yep, we're
Yeah,
good.
we're all set.
All right, go ahead, Charlie.
my timing is excellent.
It is.
I'll take that. I have to confess, I'm much more to with using Teams, so I'm gonna try and present here and
Better with Zoom.
While he's figuring that out, I'll give a quick shout out to Black Cherries. They were in the parking lot of Max Hardware today, and I'd already eaten lunch, but I felt the need to have a brisket sandwich. That was fantastic. Yeah.
well, I have the present now thing, and for some reason I can't bring up my Chrome screen. Does anybody know why that might be?
Jim, that's on you. I don't know how to use this either.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there's a. Maybe I have to allow.
God bless. We'd be in trouble if I was in charge of this.
Me too. That'd be good. We
Apologize, guys.
people in
This is
our office
just,
that can do that.
a little perplexed here.
You should be able to, right across the bottom. You see the little hand, the raise hand?
Yeah, I've got the present now button, and when I click on it, it says your entire screen window or tab, and none of those are allow me to jump into my Chrome tab, unfortunately. I don't know why, that's really bizarre.
I have your stuff up, Charlie, do you want, I mean, I could try.
Yes, if you could pull up the presentation, I would start there, and then I would go to the scope of work document, and then the workflow, we'll finish up with that, or we can go there second, it makes a difference to me, but I think the short presentation, I think will answer quite a few questions, guys. Before you even really think to ask them, it's really just kind of encapsulates how we work.
It's kind of better than you do. Choose what. If I pick entire screen and then I go to, can you see it?
Not as of yet. Tell you what, can you share?
That.
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. I appreciate it. Thank you for the technologically, not so important. I will follow up, Ellie, if you want, after this meeting, you want to follow up, it's not all these parts, everybody on the call.
Okay.
And then I get follow up questions.
People can see that.
So, why don't you hit page 2? The full screen maybe? I know I'm asking a lot.
I know.
That's okay, I'll just start right here, that's good.
Oh, wait. Sorry about that. I'll get there, I promise. It's in there.
That's fine, thank you, much appreciated.
You can read
So,
it.
Just first slide, guys, this quickly encapsulates, the model of the company. We're all past contractors, between 20 and 30 years of contracting experience nationally. Personally started here in Milwaukee with a company that's been around for almost 150 years now, FJ Christensen. But this particular company, the CEO of this company was the first CFO for Tech America, and that's where I met him. I ran all the national accounts team at Tech America. And really, we all got a pretty good look behind the scenes at all the manufacturers, all the major manufacturers, I should say, and some boutique ones as well. And really started to understand that a lot of these roofs were getting replaced prematurely simply because it was in the best interest of those that were replacing them. We further backed that up with some information from the National Roofing Contractors Association, which is kind of our governing body. And then IBEC, which used to be RCI, the Roof Consultants Institute. And then the Army Corps of Engineers. So all of this can be independently verified as far as roof performance and lifespan by searching through those 3 entities as well. But we really do believe that about 80% of them are prematurely replaced and could be kept in place for another 5 to 15 years, given some detailed love and a warranty to stand behind. If you could go to page 2, Ellen. Excellent. Just a quick buzz on why we feel that way. Having been a contractor, obviously we were in business to sell labor hours and materials, and replacing a roof definitely feeds right into that. Consultants, they're incentivized to replace roofs because they're out selling project management services, design services, and so on and so forth, and they're very, very conservative in their approach to the marketplace, and rightfully so. We feel the same. Roofing material manufacturers, obviously, they don't want to shut their factories down and stop making insulation, membrane, and accessories. So it's definitely behooves them to replace those roofs. Plus, the sooner they can take them out of their own warranty pool, the more liability they remove and take off the table. A quick look at the way we feel about all this. We're the only entity that guarantees the performance of an existing roof. Our only exclusions are acts of God and damage by others. Our warranty is a 1-page document, has 6 or 8 paragraphs in it. It's very, very simple.
if you take any time and go on to any of the major manufacturers' sites, you'll see warranties that are 3 and 4 pages long, many exclusions, you know, everything from certain kinds of dust and bugs to, you know, very, very nominal things like cyber terrorism we're starting to see actually as of late. So we keep it very simple, acts of God. Typically people are insured for those kinds of instances, and we're talking about hurricanes, tornadoes, and fires, basically. Damage by others, exactly what it sounds like. Typically it's HVAC contractors. Having been on your roofs, there's not a lot of HVAC on your roofs, so some power vents and some soil stacks and things of that nature. So we feel like that's a relatively easy set of roofs to control. But those are our 2 exclusions. We guarantee our plan, we call a roof performance plan. So it basically becomes an asset management plan, something you can lean on. We cap the budget. Once we're under contract, there's no change orders, there's no additional costs, unless there's damage by others or unless there were to be a you know, act of God type situation. So it makes it very easy for our clients to, you know, to plan for their financial performance over a period of time. So we're guaranteeing both short and long-term savings. By that we mean we're taking off the table, you know, the leak charges you might have, the maintenance charges you might have, and we're also taking off the table the capital replacement costs for the term. And typically we see this as removing an entire cycle of roof replacement. I believe we're talking about 10 and 12-year terms here. That matches up nicely with exactly what we're talking about there as far as short and long term. Typically, our program costs, you know, 30 to 40% of what the replacement of the roof is. That varies typically depending on what a performance spec might be. I think maybe our savings here might be even a little bit more, given that I think we were looking at some Garland roofs when I was on site. Very good roofs, but very expensive roofs. We typically show ROIs to our clients that is well over 250%. Really those, the roofs that we looked at, I would expect for those to come back even higher. These lower ROIs that we typically see, are usually reserved for our solar clients, and that's a little bit different, different plan and a little bit different program. So I would expect to see ROIs coming back for bold somewhere in the neighborhood of 300%. We can provide and will provide verifiable ESG benefit. May or may not be important to the school district. I'm guessing it probably is. But we can show bona fide savings of carbon and offset by not replacing, and then landfill reduction and reduced use of oil from not having to purchase new materials. What do we do here? Part of what we've already done is detailed assessment and long-term solutions. So I've already walked the roofs in question, had some in-depth discussions with both Brent and your on-site maintenance man. His name escapes me right now. He's very accommodating. So we've already performed that piece of it. We're ready to forward, you know, that report and that proposal out once we figure out if and when you all want to move forward. After that, if we came to contract, we would perform what we call an initial reconditioning, and that very much feels like a roof replacement, capital replacement project. You know, crews coming and going, although they're much smaller. We're not typically talking about dumpsters. We're not typically talking about cranes. We're talking about 3 to 6 man crews at most on a facility the size of yours. I would guess more between 2 and 4. And they take down and put up every day from their trucks. So it's very, very minimal disruption to our clients, which is something they very much like. The project duration is shorter because we're not taking it off. And of course, the exposure to your building is much, much less because we're not opening it up to the elements. We're literally removing the problem spots and replacing them, fixing them, or enhancing them. Once we're done with that, we manage that process throughout with our own QC manager, quality control manager. So again, it feels very much like a roof replacement. They're walking around, they direct extra reconditioning if it needs to be done. Again, that's at no further cost to our clients. Once we get to the end of the project, they walk it, punch it out, and we basically own the roof then for the term agreed upon. At that point, we would issue an owner's manual that would detail what was done, where it was done, how it was done. There'd be an aerial shot showing which roofs were under our protection, which roofs were not. We'll label the ones that have garland warranties on them to clarify things. Also in the owner's manual is a set of documents showing, how to get a hold of us, how to use us, our 800 number, our atservice.com email address for claims. You can run through our portal on our website, or there is actually a QR scan code that we can put on hatches as well. I find that the younger crowd that we deal with likes the QR code. Myself, I'm more of the email or portal on the website. It's quite easy for me. Ongoing care and preventative inspections, reconditioning as needed over the term of the warranty is included, especially on our longer terms, 10 and 12-year terms. We're fully aware that we're going to have to make more enhancements to the roof as it goes along to get it to the term. Leak claims obviously are included. Response is within 24 hours is the goal, oftentimes for same day. We have a number of options in your neighborhood as far as roofing contractors, and are certainly open to signing up Granite to perform this service for us. All of this is backed by a $0 limit system warranty and Lloyd's of London, which nobody else in the industry has. So really, there's no job that's too big for us to take on, and certainly we take on some very, very big ones. Just a quick shot of some of the capture that we were talking about. We've gone back and calculated our carbon offset since the beginning of the company 20 years ago, actually 20 years this summer. So we're having a little celebration right now. Captured how much landfill diversion, how many total square feet we're protecting, number of buildings. There's that average ROI again, and then capital deferred. It's getting quite substantial. Another quick snapshot. Again, we're founded in 2003. A little different graphic as to look at how many square feet we're protecting right now. Our average warranty length is a little over 10 years. That's creeping up because of the solar deals that we're doing. We do quite a few of those. 350 strategic contractors across the country. I realize that may not be exactly of interest to Bold, but what we want to show there is we have enormous coverage. It's not a real big deal for us to add coverage in the form of further strategic partners if we need to. I was pleasantly surprised actually how close Olivia was to the cities. I was expecting it to be a little bit further out, but certainly we have plenty of options right there. Our reinsured backing through Lloyd's is $100 billion, so obviously we have great financial stability, and again capital deferral and average ROI. That's just a quick snapshot of what our coverage looks like, across the country. You can see we're quite well covered in your neck of the woods. This is a snapshot of a document that we produce for all our clients on an annual basis. Many of our clients are repeat buyers, so they're tracking each year. How many programs you put in place, how many square feet. Obviously, we'll be doing that probably once for you all. But every year, we'll still produce this document because it'll show you how many claims were entered, how we're performing against those claims, how long did it take us to get on site, so on and so forth. We want to show value. We want to show you that the program is working. Well, if you could bring up the scope of work document that I sent you, I'd like to show one of those.
I think I need to stop sharing and share again.
No problem. Thank you.
Let's see. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you. I wanted to show an example of how we build our scopes of work. So once we're under contract, we send one of our QC/QA techs out. They physically mark up the roofs with red crayons and orange paint. And it does two things. One, it's kind of a redundant backup to this document. So when our crew gets on site, or if we have to switch a QC QA tech midstream for some reason, sometimes I do these myself, we're all on the same page as to what needs to get done. It's very easy for the crew to follow around, looking at these markings, showing, hey, we need, bridge flashing from here to here repaired. We need this corner patch replaced, and so on and so forth. It also provides for the QC QA guys to back up what they've marked out on the roof with a document like this. So what we do when they're done is we produce, really it's a scope of work manual. Have your building in the center like this, and then all of the repairs will be marked out per the codes. If you can drop down one more slide. The codes will actually be written across the roof, and then each type of material is called out by the system. So we have for materials, we have cleaning materials, sealants, so on and so forth. All goes into a custom built scope of work document just like this. And I think I'll send you guys a completed one as well that shows the EPDM roof that's been worked on. But this is a document that goes hand in hand with our QC QA people and gets delivered to our contractors so everybody's on the same page, along with the back of the markings on it.
Sorry.
It's no problem. If you want, that's okay. It's just more of the same right there. I just really wanted to show you that these are the documents that we put out. Certainly, like I said, if you go down one more, there it'll show you exactly what we've marked out on the roof. It's a very detailed document. It allows for some, pretty high level project management on our end. The last thing I sent over to you was, I know there were some questions as to, what happens next, how does it work? So we've created a roadmap showing how Fortis works within our model. If you could pull that up real quickly, I'll stop looking after that.
No, it's like 5 minutes. Every time I think I need to, wait, no.
You're doing great.
My stop sharing thing went away. That's not good. Okay. And they have seen this. We would love you to go through it, but we did show this before, the
The
workflow.
roadmap? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, there's a number of different steps here. I think it's good to show that we do have this level of process on, obviously. Many of our clients require it, especially when you're working in some of the industrial spaces with the heavy duty safety requirements, things like that. They want to see all the backup to what we do. So if anybody has any questions about this, we are at, obviously, starting out here really, just qualification and identifying the roofs in question and putting together a report. But we would really go through that. The next step would really be, putting it through underwriting and finishing things up. I think we've provided some budgets for 10, maybe 12-year programs or 12-year program. I think it's a very, very good fit for that. If there's questions about that, I'm happy to answer those.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
If you need to come back at any time, are there any deductible costs or each repair, that's all fully included in the warranty?
Correct. It's a one-time payment.
Okay. You mentioned damage caused by others. Is that something you still oversee and pursue, or is there any way that we can get caught in the middle of something?
No, actually, we become like an owner's rep in that instance. So we wouldn't know until we got there what caused the damage or what caused the leak. So the normal course of operation is a claim's put in, we arrive on site. Typically, when we see something like this, it's an HVAC contractor, and the most common things that they do are leaving access panels off the sides of the units, and they'll blow around the roof and cut the roof up. or they'll drop the access panel, or they'll leave fasteners all over the roof. And those become a problem. So basically, we document what we found, we make the repairs to uphold the warranty, and then we work with our clients to make sure they're compensated, you know, that the repairs are taken care of and paid for by the offending character. It doesn't happen much, you guys. It really doesn't. If it has to be extremely egregious before we go down that road.
And Charlie, would I be right in saying that a regular roof warranty would have a similar provision in it?
It would, absolutely. Their exclusions are far and above what we have in it. The easiest thing to do, guys, is to go to Garland's site or Jones Manville's site or Firestone. Well, it's not Firestone anymore. They sold it. I think it's called Evolve now or Elevate. But to go to their sites and read through their warranties, you want to look at their no dollar limit warranties so that you're compared up apples to apples with what we're providing. But I think what you'll find is their exclusions aren't many. And for a lot of reasons, right? They're in the business of selling materials and selling accessories. We're in the business of putting roof performance programs in place and backing them with a warranty. So it's fundamental to what we do. So yeah, you would be absolutely right. Those are things you will find.
So Charlie, if we go with your company and we are doing a remodel and something gets done on the roof, do you have to come back out to inspect that for the warranty to continue?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in the owner's manual, there's details, and I can send you a sample owner's manual too. Let me write that down. There are details there on owner responsibilities, and really, the owner responsibilities that we outline are this, guys. We don't require maintenance programs. We don't require any of that. We'll take care of that for you. What we do ask is, please do your best to keep the drains open. Being in the area of the country you're in, we have the seasons, we have leaf drop, all those kinds of things. Let's just keep the drains open. And then the other thing is, if there's a fit out that needs to be done, let's say you're adding a new sign slab and you need to pop through some penetrations or what a new bathroom or whatever it may be. All we ask is you contact us. And when you contact us, there's two things that can happen. One, we're noting that it's going in and we want to improve the detail of the roof penetration, or we can just handle it for you. And our clients engage us both ways. I get routine calls every day. We're putting in a new vent stack. Please come do it. Obviously, then we know it's up to the speed and up to the standards of what is in the warranty. At the very least, all we're asking is, hey, this is what we're doing. This is the equipment we're installing, and here's the detail that the roofing contractor is using to install it. And we'll approve the detail, or we'll tell you, hey, that's a bad detail. We prefer you use this one. We won't slow you down.
That's the only question I had.
So I think we got preliminary numbers so far. Are those broke out for each roof system? So we see what the costs are for your company to cover the Garland versus the rubber versus the other types of roofing up there?
I think I understand what you're asking me. I'll answer the way I know how to. We basically price everything. Our underwriting is done on a square foot basis. So once the more square footage that's added, that affects the risk equation. I think that makes sense to everybody here. As I spread it out over more and more roof areas, some better than others, that risk profile gets better and better and better. So if you're asking me, could I quote it on a roof by roof basis? I guess I could. It wouldn't behoove you to do it that way. It would definitely impact the cost. So I'm looking at the total square footage of Valstead EPDM, and I think there's one fully adhered barrel roof EPDM on the elementary school, Bird Elementary. We blend all that risk, we blend all that square footage together. That goes through our underwriting process. It comes out the other side as a square foot cost. Now, what you could do, and what most people do, is take those costs and the financial equations that we provide and compare it against their whatever roofing quotes they may have. We do generate internally what we feel like a market replacement cost might be based on what we're looking at. So that would be a like in kind. We'd be looking at what is a Valstead EPDM system or a fully adhered EPDM system in the Twin Cities, greater area going down for these days. generally speaking, that's gonna be less than Garland. So I think we're gonna show a savings against Garland that's probably a lot, further enhanced than it would be if you went back with what you have, that is in place now.
What I'm really
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, what I'm really kind of curious about is your cost to, put the warranty on a Garland roof system versus like a glued down EBPM, whatever that rubber type of roof is.
Okay,
How
could
do
it
you-
be more?
Yeah, how do they vary from roof to roof?
Yeah,
Just
so,
roughly.
no, that's a great question. I understand you better now. I appreciate that. So, you know, our program is set up by roof systems, so you're definitely onto something there. It's also taking into effect, you know, age, condition, and those kinds of things. So, when we look at a built-up, 4-ply built-up and gravel system, like I believe you have with Garland, maybe it's a cold applied system, I don't remember exactly. It's much newer, it's in much better shape, the pricing would actually be less. Now, if you had some really old TPO roofs, which are white membrane roofs, thermoplastic, and I'm probably getting way in the weeds for you guys, but that's a product that doesn't have a market longevity that some of the other roof systems do. Rubber's been around forever. This company was founded on rubber. We have tons and tons and tons of it in inventory. We've got some that's approaching 50 years old. So we're very, very comfortable with that. But you're absolutely right. It's different types of membranes and manufacturers. It does impact the pricing a little bit from one to the next. The biggest variable being, I'm not sure, is it Jim that I'm talking to, but the biggest variable being, what do I have to pay to get those products, guys? So it's very easy for me to go to ABC or Beacon Supply and pick up EPDM repair products, TPO repair products, PVC, so on and so forth. If I got to work on a Garland roof, typically our owners are going to want us to use Garland material, and that's a whole different ballpark.
Okay, so when do we, what have we got for pricing so far? Have we only got a budget number, or do we have a really hard number so far?
Correct. We gave Brent budget pricing so far. What I really don't want to do, and what I don't like to do is push these through underwriting too soon. Basically on our side, you know, think of it this way, guys, you know, we're a risk company that deals in roofing, if that makes sense to you. So we're basically date stamping something, we look at it, and the risk is the risk that day. And so I don't like to put together hard pricing too soon, because we're essentially time stamping it, and you know, to hold pricing for, you know, an extended period of time gets very, very difficult. So what I told Brent was, you know, listen, given what we've seen here, given against what we've recently priced, against what we have in inventory, this is a budget we're very, very comfortable with. Let's use that to get through this process to the next step. And then if you all decide you want to move forward with us, we'll update all of that, get you a full-blown proposal, you know, with those scopes of work, with all the details that we found on site, with the pricing, financial equations, all that stuff, and we'll put it in your hands. That would be the next step.
So guys, it's not all that different than all of the other numbers that we've shared with you, where they're all estimates, you know, or in other words, budgets based on what we know at this point in time. You know, they have some contingencies built in, but once the project is a go ahead, you know, the roofing, the other detailed designs, work gets completed and final pricing is put together. But everyone knows that when you need to live within the existing budget, you would receive all the structural numbers. You know, just like any other bids that we provided on the project. Does that make sense?
So kind of back to like Greg's question, is the roof the last piece you'd want to put on a remodel project? I mean, if we don't have serious leaking issues right now, I mean, is that the last piece, so ties everything in, or when do you envision that, or do you do it piece by piece?
Yeah, actually I go the other way around. So most of our clients typically want to secure the roof before they spend money inside the building to protect the investment that they're putting in place inside the building. So my answer to that would be, I would start at the top and work your way down for those particular reasons.
I think we're good at this time. Have you emailed, and I apologize if you haven't already, all the information out there is just in your, did you just show it?
I will email it out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do that because I don't have all your individual emails, gentlemen, but
Yeah.
certainly.
If I don't get to it this afternoon, I'll send it to you first thing tomorrow morning.
And certainly feel free to, whatever Nexus's process is, if they want you to go, submit questions to them and then those come to me, or if they prefer you come directly to me, it makes no difference to me, but whatever process is in place for that, I'd be happy to answer questions that may come up going forward.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Charlie.
You bet.
Let me turn the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Or no, it's on them.
What's everyone's thought on that?
Makes sense.
It makes sense on some roofs, but somebody kept saying we have money allocated for replacing certain, I think Brent always said that, allocated to replace certain roofs. Are we still looking at replacing certain roofs?
Well.
Or are
so
we
we've got
looking
the
at
money
doing
right-
this?
We've got the money set aside for it. If we were to go out and take out a bond, issue a bond, we'd probably use that money elsewhere and then use the bond money for the roof. But yeah, we do have money to put the Bird Island roof over the gym. Is it just over the gym or is it? It might count that flat part over by
Yeah,
the
it
barrel
goes
roof.
on that flat piece too.
I think it was at the bottom.
Bottom,
barrel,
yeah.
but I don't know why
That section.
we would do anything with that if we're gonna rip the old building down, because we're gonna ruin it anyhow.
Right, we would wait on that. I that's a tough call over there because we do get a leak every now and then. Generally, when it's frozen, it's fine, but when it starts to melt up on top, then that roof starts to leak, and it's always right around the to
Chasing
north.
it.
What's that?
We're chasing it. We don't know.
That's the situation where I question, wait till the end, I get it if you're just doing this area and it's just interior remodel. But Bird Island, if we're actually taking some walls down, or it just seems like then the new roof should be the last thing.
Right.
I get it, you don't want to remodel and have your new stuff get wet inside. I suppose they'll just have to figure that out.
And that the roof next to the barrel roof, that would have to be last because I'm sure they're gonna have to do something to the outside of that, and
It's gonna be a new wall on that end or something different.
it's right up to that wall. So yeah.
Weren't they just gonna fix the bad parts and not necessarily replace the whole roof?
Well, so right now the money is
To do the whole roof.
to do the whole roof. Yeah.
But what their big savings was is like, well, just because it's a 20-year roof doesn't mean it's got a shelf life of 20 years. You have to tear it off and start over. So they can just repair what needs to be repaired and then extend that warranty. Then we're using this warranty.
Exactly.
So that main gym roof is one we're looking at to do this insurance.
Want to do them everything, right? I mean, heaters.
Yeah. If we do
Wherever it doesn't have a
definitely
warranty.
do it.
Yeah, yeah.
You can do the main gym roof and do the repairs on the barrel roof where that seam is bad. And then whatever else. Yeah.
Garland, yeah.
Garland.
I think the main roof issue though is it part of the tuck pointing that isn't working? Or-
Yeah, I think that's more in the tuck pointing area. I'm
and
not
the
sure.
water gets up underneath it and then it starts melting down, right? Or am
Yeah.
I-
And like I said, we're chasing that one because there's never any water standing up there. And you can't, so, and when I talked to Al, with Granite City, who I've been calling, he said that he wants to look more at the tuck pointing, the flashing, look in that area, which, yeah, it makes sense because that's where we got that cap funky.
That's a real good question to see how that ties into this warranty company. On flashing and tuck pointing on the tuck
Right,
edges.
yeah.
That we just don't end up with a gray area that the roofing company can say, and obviously that wouldn't be theirs on the tuck pointing and such, but just so we maybe have a clarification on that.
Are you
How
talking?
far over the edge do they cover?
Right, are you just covering this or are you coming over it? I mean,
Right.
you know,
Right, all that flashing and everything.
Yeah.
Just remember to ask that at the
So the the tuck pointing is done by a separate company? Am I missing something here?
Tuck pointing on the brick and that stuff would be,
Huh.
but your flashing and that stuff is generally done by the roofing
Okay.
company that you hire.
I'm sure the flashing.
I don't, yeah, that'd be one for him, I guess. I don't know.
I don't think there's anything we really, nothing we really need to decide on that right now, is there? I mean, I
No.
just information.
We're, I mean,
If you don't mind, I'd like to go back to the pool a little bit, Tracy, you mentioned a good, good point. And I look back, and Ellie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe those were all looking like ESSER funds. The school would only spend ESSER funds or other funds on the pool. None of that would be referendum funds. Does that sound
That's the
correct?
thought, yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
And that certainly makes sense. So at that point, you could guarantee that. However,
That's a lot of ESSER funds. I don't know that we have that. kind of ESSER funds.
well, and the other thing is
It
that,
wasn't all ESSER funds. I think some of it was LTFM.
yeah, and bonded,
some of
yeah.
it, a lot of it's bonded LTFM.
And this would be the total, so the school would be 50% of the city. But I'm just wondering if that should be contingent somehow on a referendum passing that. Does it need to be, contingent, the
It
referendum?
doesn't, you don't need to move forward with it right now at all, so like, it can be decided later.
Okay,
It's not part of that, it can be a different project.
at all, so it's not even really listed, be listed on our, like when you submit to the state, will the pool information won't be listed on there at all? Not at
No.
all, okay.
Don't,
Okay, so it can be done at any point in time. Obviously, it makes sense to do it
Yeah.
when we're doing the project, but
Correct.
if it
Correct.
doesn't, okay.
Correct.
All right,
Mary Jo we were just having a conversation. They're in the process of hiring a new city administrator as well. So there was just a lot of, I contacted her with some information, but we were also kind of waiting to see what was gonna go to referendum and when and, that.
great, no, that sounds great, and I think we'd have to wait, make sure a referendum passes before we commit to those funds, because if the referendum didn't pass, you'd have to take the funds and,
Exactly.
yeah, so I think, all right, just want to make sure I'm clear on.
It was just very helpful to have it all separated in its own little box.
Getting
That when
close.
So that when I did have a conversation with Mary Jo, we weren't flipping back and forth.
Right, we're getting closer to it, yeah. Sounds good to me. Anybody have any other topics, discussion today? Ellie, is there something else you'd like to see us discuss?
no, that's it.
So everybody's okay on the questions for the survey? All good on that? Oh, you gotta,
I haven't looked at them, sorry. Does anybody else have?
I think they're really,
I just go ahead, think
you'll look at them. A lot of them are very similar to the first survey. They come out and just ask, are you willing to support, a levy to bring kids into the Rhode Island building? So that question will be.
Randy, I sent it to you.
Okay,
So did I.
good.
and I got a copy for him. He should be.
I've been
should have it
a
now.
little bit. So.
That's good. That's what I need.
I would add too that they're going to, there's fewer questions this time, but they're going to, instead of 400 people, they're going to contact 500.
Oh.
So,
And it's just a random pool again, so you may or may not have been questioned the first time, and, right?
yep, there'll probably be a
Correct.
few that get called the second time, and most probably not. But again, it's completely random, and they use demographics so that if you're if there's a certain percentage of people that live in Olivia, that's the percentage of people from Olivia that are called. And if they can't get a hold of this person after like 6 or 7 tries, then they replace that person with someone from the same demographic. So it's a very scientific survey, and I'm just gonna remind people that there is zero benefit to us of getting a survey back that tells us what we want to hear. There's zero benefit. That helps us not at all. So we want accurate results.
Exactly. All right, well, then I'm good. Call it a day, call it an afternoon.
Thank you. I'll end our stream.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.